Hello, so today we're going to be talking about water and life. So first we'll talk about the structure of water. So as you might know, water is made up of two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom. And water is a polar molecule because of the polar covalent bonds that form between the hydrogen atom and the oxygen atom in water. And these covalent bonds are polar because of differences in electronegativity. And electronegativity is just an atom's ability to attract electrons and pull it closer to itself. Because oxygen has a higher electronegativity than hydrogen, oxygen pulls the electrons closer to itself, causing oxygen to have a partial negative charge and the hydrogen atoms to have a partial positive charge. And because of these partial charges and the polarity of water, water can form hydrogen bonds, which are attractive forces that form between the hydrogen of one molecule of water and the oxygen of another molecule of water. So the partial positive charge of the hydrogen atom is attracted to the partial negative charge of the oxygen atom in another molecule. So just to clarify, the polar covalent bond forms between the hydrogen and oxygen of the same molecule, while the hydrogen bonds forms between the hydrogen and oxygen of two different molecules. So now that we know more about the structure of water, we'll talk about some of the properties of water. So the first property of water is cohesion, and this is due to hydrogen bonding. Cohesion is the ability of water to stick to itself or to attract other water molecules. And related to cohesion is surface tension, which is a measure of how difficult it is to break the surface of a liquid. Because of water's cohesive abilities, water has an extremely high surface tension. Another property of water is adhesion, which is also due to hydrogen bonding and water's polarity. Adhesion is the ability of water to stick to other substances and to attract other surfaces, such as leaves, glass tubes, and cell walls. And adhesion is extremely useful because it allows for the transport of water in plants. So the third property of water is that it is a good moderator of temperature. So first, specific heat is the amount of heat needed to raise 1 gram of a substance by 1 degree Celsius. And water has a high specific heat due to its hydrogen bonding. When water absorbs heat, a lot of the heat absorbed goes into breaking the hydrogen bonds rather than speeding up the water molecules and increasing the temperature. So as you can see in this example here, the temperature on land is significantly higher than the temperature in water because the water is able to absorb more of the heat without raising the temperature. So another property of water is that water has a high heat of vaporization, and this is again due to hydrogen bonding. So first of all, evaporation or vaporization is the transformation from liquid state to gas state. And heat of vaporization is the quantity of heat needed for 1 gram of a liquid to be converted into gas state. And water has a high heat of vaporization because of its hydrogen bonds. When water absorbs heat, a lot of the heat goes into breaking the hydrogen bonds rather than allowing liquid water to be converted into water vapor. So related to heat of vaporization and evaporation is evaporative cooling, which is the property that as a liquid evaporates, the remaining liquid cools down. This is extremely helpful because it allows organisms to maintain a relatively stable temperature and not overheat when they're in hot weather or when they produce excess body heat when they exercise or do hard work. So another property of water is that ice floats on top of water, and this is due to hydrogen bonding. When water freezes, it forms a crystalline structure because of its hydrogen bonds. And the hydrogen bonds actually causes the water molecules to be spaced further apart, and this makes ice less dense than liquid water and allows for ice to float on top of liquid water. So another property of water is that water is considered the universal solvent. And first, a solution is a homogeneous liquid mixture of two or more substances. And solutions consist of the solute, which is what is being dissolved, and this is often things like salt or sugar. And the solvent is what is doing the dissolving, which is often water. An aqueous solution is any solution where water is the solvent. And water is a good solvent because of its polarity and hydrogen bonds. Because water is polar and has partial charges, it can effectively separate ions. So as you can see in this picture, NaCl is separated into the two ions because of its charges. The positively charged sodium ion is surrounded by the negatively charged oxygen atom in water, and the negatively charged chloride ion is surrounded by the positively charged hydrogen atoms in water. And this effectively separates the two ions and allows NaCl to dissolve. So when we are measuring the concentration of a solution, we measure in molarity, which is the number of moles of solute per liter of solution. And moles are 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd particles or molecules, and it can be calculated by dividing the grams of a substance by the molar mass of the substance. We're also going to be talking about hydrophilic versus hydrophobic. So hydrophilic is when something is attracted to water, and this is polar molecules with charged regions such as cellulose. So as you can see here, the partial positive charged region of the substance will be attracted to the negatively charged oxygen ion or negatively charged oxygen atom in water, while the negatively charged region of the substance will be attracted to the partially positive charged hydrogen atom in water. On the other hand, hydrophobic substances are not attracted to water, and these are nonpolar molecules without charged regions, such as oil. And as you can see in this picture, when oil is added to water, it actually forms a distinct layer and doesn't mix with the water because the oil and water are not attracted to each other. Okay, so lastly, we're going to be talking about the acidic and basic conditions of water. So first, acids are substances that donate hydrogen ions, and this increases the hydrogen ion concentration in solutions, while bases accept hydrogen ions and increase the concentration of hydroxide ions in a solution. And pH is a way of measuring the acidity of a solution, and the pH can be calculated using negative logarithm of the hydrogen ion concentration. And pH is measured on a scale from 1 to 14, where a lower value represents an acid, while a higher value represents a base, and a pH of 7 represents a neutral solution or substance. And as you can see here, water can act as both an acid or a base. When water is together, one water molecule can get an additional hydrogen ion, making hydronium, while another water molecule can donate a hydrogen ion, making hydroxide. And lastly, buffers are substances that minimize changes in pH by accepting or donating hydrogen ions. And buffers are extremely important because they allow biological fluids such as blood to maintain a relatively constant pH and allows us to live. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you for listening and watching. If you have any questions or anything, you can email us at stemenrichmentyouth@gmail.com or visit our website for more information. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn as STEM Enrichment Youth. Thank you.